Welcome to Budget Outlaws, and we're going to do a little Q&A session between father and son. My name is Dan. Andrew.
He's the father and the son.
Couldn't tell. Anyways, our big thing is Outlaws. We're vehemently opposed to stock cars.
Never kept one stock. None of us.
I still have a stock pickup truck that I absolutely love.
Aside from pickup trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so our big thing is Porsches. So you see the 944 in the background, and the one in the foreground is the 914, and both are heavily modified. And I have another 914 at home that is also heavily modified, and that's the thing that we like to do. And so I started my thing back when I was 15 years old. I took my first engine apart and rebuilt it, and it was a 62 Plymouth Belvedere with a 318 wide block, and I rebuilt it in auto shop, and then later that same year I blew it up, and then the next year I rebuilt and did it again. You'll learn by making mistakes.
So how'd you blow it up?
We were driving down one of the country roads near the house, and my sister was driving because I wasn't old enough to drive yet, and my cousin was in the back seat, and he and I were edging her to go, to see if it would do 70 miles an hour, and I didn't think anything of it. I'd say, hey, it'll be fine. Well, it didn't. It made 69, and then it threw a rod through the block. It seized one of the pistons, and that was it. So I got another block and rebuilt it again, and then we drove that car, she and I, for many years, and then moved on to another one, and another one, and another one. So we got to this point. Tell them how you started.
Well, I started with the car that the camera is sitting on, which is the 914. This is a 73 914. I've got a pretty lengthy story on that, but a brief synopsis of that is that bought the car with two other cars. One was a total vehicle, and the other one was a basket case rust bucket. The total vehicle, the previous owner had pulled the engine out of that and put it into the driving car, and just kept all the parts. So I grabbed everything from him for $1,000 and $1,050, and
Out of his own money.
out of my own money.
At what age?
That was what, 14?
It was very early 15s at the best.
Yeah. So, did that. When we drove it home, it didn't have barely any clutch because the clutch tube, it was a cable clutch, and the clutch tube was loose. So you push the clutch down, and it didn't do anything on the backside. So Dad drove it home. All the while was smoking oil like crazy due to an external leak onto the exhaust manifold, and the 914s have a tube that runs from the back, which is because they're mid-engine, to the front, and so all of that smoke was going into the cabin, and it was just completely engulfing us with not only clutch sounds and smell, but
Gears grinding.
and gears grinding. It was
Starting off with a starter at the stop sign.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun initial drive for all of 20 minutes of whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
So we towed the other two cars home. Oh no, we didn't. We towed them to a friend's house because Mom would have threw a fit if we would have brought three cars home.
mm-hmm.
Did we even tell her about them all at once first?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, we'd have to ask her.
So the friend was very kind to he got one of the cars,
Yeah.
and
and then never touched it.
And yeah, it ended up in a field years later, and a phone call from the police. So the other car we cut up and used for parts and sold off the pieces and kept the VIN numbers in a box for years. Finally threw them away.
Oh well.
But so that was his first taste, and then you didn't keep it stock.
It wasn't stock to begin with. Well, it was pretty close to stock, but it got a multitude of changes. I tried hopping up the 4-cylinder motor a little bit, or at least bringing it back to stock power because it had carbs on it. I put some fuel injection. I tried adjusting the valves and adjusted them again and adjusted them again, and I just couldn't get my hand on it. So I got angry one day and slammed the driver's door and broke the glass because I didn't have any felt on the inside to protect it, and so slammed the door driving into school and just shards of glass everywhere, and that was a great morning. At that point, I said, I'm done with 4-cylinder Volkswagen air-cooled motors, and planned an operation for a V8 swap. Did a very budget V8 swap with a couple of different conversion kits, and
Sorry to all you air-cooled purists. This is an Outlaws channel. You knew that going in, so.
yeah. Yep. Love the sound, but hate the performance.
It didn't sound good.
Yeah, it was a good sound, especially with the Webers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But did the V8 conversion, finishing up early senior year of high school, and enjoyed the heck out of that. All the while trying to work through the problems that a home-built V8 conversion would do, which means I bought the cheapest junkyard radiator that I could find. We rebuilt the motor from a junkyard. That actually went pretty well, but for the first probably 100 miles or so, we were having problems with the motor, and it probably wasn't making more than 75 horsepower, and it needed to be broken in. This is what ended up being the problem. That, and we were running a Quadrajet carburetor, and loved the sound of the Quadrajet, but it didn't make any horsepower.
Well, the other thing is that we mismatched the components to try and keep the horsepower down and the torque down, because he's running through the stock torque or transfer case. Transfer case. I'm thinking
Transmission.
Transaxle.
Yeah.
So the Transaxle survived. Not all of the CV joints survived, but
I went through
you drove
two.
it for a while.
I went through two. And at that point, it went through probably 10 years in that configuration, doing little things here and there. Got engaged to be married, and said, okay, let's get this thing to the point where I can really drive it, and actually looking good, because it was a primer. So I painted it, cleaned up the conversion a little bit.
He painted it himself.
Yeah, everything on this car was done myself. So if I didn't know how, I figured it out, and we'll go into that quite a bit.
Yeah. But we don't want to tell you all the secrets of the car. just a few little things to get you just to get you an idea of what we go through. So, well, I too started with a 4-cylinder, the 1.7 72 model. It was his mother's car, my current wife, and she was well, we won't go into details of what it was like for her as a blonde driving around in a Porsche. So, anyways, that was my first go, and after a few years, a baby came along, and we had to sell it so we could get something that would seat somebody with a car seat, or 3 people. Anyways, so that one went, and some other cars along the way came along, and I ended up buying this 944 many years ago, and then selling it to him not too long ago, and picked up a 914 of my own. And this one was pretty radical. So this one that I bought is an LS conversion, an LS6. It's a pretty hefty hot rod, and it was wrecked, so I got a good deal on it. And again, budget, part of the Outlaws. And so I spent some time and repaired that and got it running, and still working on it, but still it's a whole lot of fun, just like his is. We won't get into the details of his current setup. It's quite different.
Yep.
Quite good. So going into the summary of that was that he started when he was 15. I started when I was 15, and aside from an extra many years that I had on him, we both have been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah.
And had lots of cars along the way, and still more to come. And I'd like to talk with you guys about it. So
Yep. And build them.
And make them faster,
Yeah.
because they're not fast enough yet.
Is there a fast enough?
No.
No.
Well, yeah, I think there is, but
Well, what is it? Till the you can break the tires loose from the beginning of the straight to the end of the straight. That's when you got enough power, and you need more tire.
yeah. Yeah. That's my go-to. Haven't had that yet, but come close.
Yeah, we're close to the point where we just need tire,
Yeah.
especially me with an open diff.
And that's hard to do on a budget, but we do have options on that. So
Yeah.
we're working on that. So, anyways, it's not just the Porsches. I have a Jeep that I work on, have done a build up on, and a lot of fun with that one. It's more fun than anything, just test driving it. So, yeah. And he's got, what is that? Infinity?
Yeah.
That's another one that he's working on. I've done.
I'm not working on it at all. I'm driving it.
Yeah.
That's my daily.
That's a little monster.
Yeah. 3-liter twin turbo. Good motor. Comfy driver. Quick.
So I think we should close this off for now, and we'll do another one later. And hey, it's fun. We have a good time.
All right. Well,
All right, press the button.
bye-bye.